time. So just watch and enjoy. There you are.
Absolutely remarkable. You can see me now, can you, Amber? That's just one of the most remarkable things I've ever seen. It just went out like that and very slowly come back up. The band has welcomed it back. Ladies and gentlemen, the sun.
Edited highlights of what we've seen, particularly from Alderney and the areas around that this morning. It has been absolutely extraordinary. We've been following the eclipse around the globe. This is the journey that it has taken so far. Let's be specific on this. It began in Cornwall. That was the first time we saw it in the UK. It crossed to Alderney in the Channel Islands. It went on through Europe, across Romania, Hungary, Iran. Finally, it will cross the sunset line in India and fade over the Bay of Bengal. And we are hoping to get our last glimpse of the eclipse from Calcutta a little bit later in the programme, so do stay with us. The 1927 eclipse was the last time it passed over England. Here in the studio, I'm joined by Lorne Spicer, who's amassed a unique collection of memorabilia from that time, the 1927 eclipse. Thanks for joining us, Lorne. We're going to talk to you in a minute. But first, these memories from a woman who, as a 15-year-old schoolgirl, saw the 1927 eclipse early one June morning at Giggleswick School in Yorkshire. The whole country was covered in cloud, and Giggleswick was the only place where the cloud actually broke and they were able to see the eclipse. It was there that Veronica Madams, now '89 witnessed the last eclipse to be seen in Britain. As dawn broke, she knew that something very special was about to happen.
It wasn't until round about, I would say, 7 o'clock that there was a slight darkening in the sky. Although the moon at that time hadn't, the shadow of the moon hadn't started appearing then. It takes hours. It must have taken, what, 4 hours, I suppose, for it to come across. And then we could see really what was happening, and there was absolute silence, because by that time you can imagine half the sun's surface obscured, was darker, and then of course 3/4. And as it came toward the end, I mean, I suppose we were spellbound. Then you saw the real beauty of it, because most of the drawings that you see now, you've got the sun with the shadow on it and a nice, neat golden band round it. But of course then you didn't get a neat golden band. You just got flames, beautiful golden flames, darting in and out. Then you get an eclipse forming of sunshine. And then you realise that, well, the show was nearly over.
Wonderful. The memories of Veronica Madams, 89, would you believe? Well, Lorne's here, expert on memorabilia. All sorts of things were brought out in 1927. You've got some of that to show us. But this is the one that cracks me up. I mean, this is the most absurd bit of memorabilia, if you can call it that. Pretty short-lived.
Well,
tell me.
From the sandwich shop this morning, yes, the Eclipse sandwich, no less. Made one sandwich with white bread, the other made with brown. So it just shows you how commercial we've come during that time. And then obviously we've all got the Eclipse glasses, which sold out completely in London. You couldn't get them for love nor money. But it was interesting to read back to 1927. I mean, the reason that not very many of these survived from that time is that a lot of the school children were told simply to view the eclipse through the bottom of a Marmite bottle, or just handed a piece of smoky glass and said, look through that. So they weren't quite as sophisticated as they are today.
Extraordinary. Times have changed. I mean, I see Joe wincing at that. I mean, these are some of the questions we've been dealing with today, but I suppose, you know, most people have managed to get hold of those. The interesting thing is, I think they were languishing in the shops for the last few weeks. People didn't think they would need them, and then the excitement came at the last minute. Do we have any indication from 1927 just how popular it was? I mean, how many people made the journey? Oh yes, it was
hugely popular. I mean, it was the biggest mobilisation since the war. People going, I mean, of course it was a bit of a disappointment in the event, but that's not the point. It really seemed to have captured people's imagination at that time far more than perhaps today. And as a result, I mean, you know, it was heavily promoted as well. We can see that we think that we're only dealing with commercialism today. We're not. In 1927, the railways were promoting themselves as the, you know, the method of getting to see this wonderful occasion. And I think this may well be one of my favourites from the National Railway Museum. These are replicas, of course. The real ones would be railway poster size, so they're huge. But the great thing on this, of course, is your only chance, you know, until 1999. You know, it's just so wonderful. You can imagine how exciting it must have been to go up on the trains then. And of course, the artwork alone of these posters, you know, is highly sought after, just because of the images that they conjure up. But there were 3 designs only done. It's just a shame because, unfortunately, because our railways over here haven't replicated the same thing for this eclipse.
It is a shame, isn't it? These would be worth a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain things definitely to look for from this eclipse, apart from the general memorabilia that's available. Things like, for example, the tickets on Concorde, those that were lucky enough to be on Concorde for the eclipse. And, for example, if you were one of the lucky journalists to be on the Hercules plane that we saw flying above cloud cover, anything that's very unique to this particular event, and of which few people will have tickets and memorabilia from.
Do you think people will be buying things up really with a view to holding on to them and making money?
Yes, I mean, unfortunately nowadays that tends to be the main motivation for most of these things, which is why the best examples, some of which we have here, are very low-size limited editions. You know, so one
low size being how many?
Well, we've got a charger here that's 2,000, which is quite large, but it's a big British pottery that's made it, and down to the smallest charger, of which there are only 100 being made by Lorna Bailey. So that small size more or less guarantees that prices will rise in future. But from my own point of view, I think it's just very nice to have something that marks the occasion as we we've witnessed it.
You know, one of the things that I think has been so exciting about this eclipse is how even the money men have gone for this. I mean, you were telling me a great
I love
story.
it when that happens, yeah. Well, the whole of the city basically evacuated at sort of, around 11 o'clock, and to get hard dealers, leaving their trading posts to actually go out and witness some, a natural event like this is quite extraordinary. And the cost to the city at the moment is now being put at 100 million because everybody left their offices. So that's lost mine hours and lost deals on the phone and what have you.
100 million pounds.
100 million pounds, absolutely, a lot of money.
It's a lot of
But how
dollars,
inspiring at the end of the day that everybody can be taken over by such a wonderful
expensive
natural event.
eclipse.
Yeah,
it was,
absolutely.
wasn't it? Yeah.
That was the diamond ring, big time, big time. Well, Lorne, hold on for the moment there. We'll talk more in a minute. But I think now we can go to some pictures from Isfahan in Iran, where the conditions were pretty much perfect. Take a look at those. Joe, what do you think?
Yep.
Isfahan in Iran.
Beautiful. Perfect. There doesn't seem to be any cloud cover at all. And, one of the problems here, as we're trying to say why you can't see the stars and the planets and the corona at the same time, is because the cameramen are, of course, adjusting the exposure so you see the corona, and it's quite faint. So when that happens, there's not much else they can do but just focus on that, which is the key thing that one is looking for. It's perfectly symmetric. I think probably the astronomers will be having something to say about that. Isfahan in Iran, amazing.
This was the place where it was said that it would be the best eclipse, wasn't it?
95% probability of clear skies.
Well, there you are, and here we are. That's what's coming off Iranian television.
Yes.
It is amazingly beautiful. We've been watching this all morning now. It hasn't pulled, has it?
No, and with all the guests talking about the unifying force or whatever of the eclipse, I mean, here we are looking at a country that has its problems with the West, shall we say, and yet they're having the same sort of experience with the eclipse that we had here.
Yeah,
in terms of its awe and wonder.
Yeah, amazing. All right, well, I think we can turn now to Tim Grundy again. He's in Alderney, and he has another guest with him. Tim, over to you.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things is what's been going on behind the scenes for our broadcast here from Alderney. For example, in order to get here so that we can bring you these satellite pictures live, we had to roll in the army. They brought a tank carrier across from the mainland with our OB truck, which is just down there. The islanders have all pitched in. I've got Dominique Jones next to me. Dominique has been driving for us, her brother's been working for us, her mum and dad have been helping us out, and we've even been living in their house. Now, that's because there just isn't enough space on this island for the enormous number of people that have come on shore. What's it been like for you?
Well, I found that, having such a small island with so many people coming over here, that a lot of the locals have been having to think ahead and plan things like food and having things brought over for them. But, I think it's been an amazing experience just to have so many people come over to such a small island.
You had your first traffic jam, didn't you?
Oh, we did, yes. It's such a small island. We have such few traffic and few cars on the island that you can go around the whole island and just not pass any cars at all. So having so many cars on the island as well,
okay,
it's caused huge problems.
Very quickly, you're partying for the rest of the of the day. There's a rave going on in a bunker.
Yes, we're all celebrating in a bunker tonight with all the old German fortifications around the island, and a lot of the youngsters will be coming up and celebrating all through the night.
And a party going on down there as well.
Yes, the ball's going on tonight as well.
Okay,
Right.
All right. Well, have a good night.
Thank you.
And Dominique, thank you very much for all your help.
Thank you.
Cheers.
We're going to be taking a break in just a minute, but I think we can just squeeze in a few pictures from Pakistan before we go. That is the eclipse in Pakistan. We're going to be going back to that after the break. Stay with us. Please don't go away. There's lots more still to come.
Tonight, Hawaii's deepest blue waters. Scientists go where few humans dare to venture. The truth about humans and sharks. Shark Week continues with Sharks of the Deep Blue. Tonight, 9 Eastern and Pacific, only on the Discovery Channel.
I'm a student, and I do a lot of research on the web. So what I wanted, what I really had to have, was a powerful desktop computer. Then someone told me about Dell. I got on the internet. Dell built a desktop just for me. This direct way actually costs less. Okay, so I don't always use it for research. Cool.
Discover this Dell Dimension XPS with the next generation Intel Pentium 3 processor at 450 MHz for $47 a month. With applications optimized for the Pentium 3 processor, you get smoother, cooler, more realistic 3D graphics. Add in great audio, video, and a big monitor, and you can get more lifelike games and a rich internet experience. System also includes 2 games, fast, easy internet setup, and 24-hour tech support. This Dimension with Intel Pentium 3 processor at 450 MHz, just $47 a month. Monthly payment for other systems vary.
I'd be lost without it. No doubt.
Be direct, Dell.
I'm so tired of these blinds and this wallpaper. Oh, but who has time to shop? I wish I could just click my mouse and see what's new. Wow.
You can at AmericanHomeDecorating.com, the American Blind and Wallpaper Factory internet site. See all the latest wallpaper styles, the newest window blinds. Save up to 82% on quality brand names. We'll deliver fast and free.
Your order from American Blind and Wallpaper Factory.
Wow.
Visit AmericanHomeDecorating.com now to shop for thousands of blinds and wallpapers or call for your free catalog and measuring guide.
From the Discovery Channel comes another first, where new evidence tells the real story. 200 years ago, Napoleon's fleet sank in a battle that changed history. Now, be part of the Discovery Expedition Adventure team as they dive to the wreckage in search of the truth. Napoleon's Lost Fleet, an Expedition Adventure special. Sunday, August 29th at 9 Eastern and Pacific on the Discovery Channel.
In less time than it takes to make microwave popcorn, you can order World TV premiere movies with Dish On Demand pay-per-view. Look what's popping up this month. Use your remote and order these films now while they're still nice and hot. Dish Network's Dish On Demand. You won't believe your eyes.
Stars Theater is playing your favorites.
First, there was darkness.
Just like a movie theater, it's the best of stars all week long.
Word gets around fast, I guess.
Here's to life.
And they're commercial-free.
Oh my God!
You choose the day and time that's convenient for you to watch.
Holy smokes.
Stars Theater, the best of stars all week long.
Hello, welcome back. You're watching Eclipse 99 here on the Discovery Channel. I'm Mary Nightingale. Now, for some people, the total eclipse is not just a spectacular sight, but it's also a highly sacred event. They are called pagans. They see the eclipse as the triumph of the female moon over the power of the male sun, and a moment when great energies are released. Well, before we actually talk to some guests, which we'll have in the studios, let's hear from Cassandra Latham. She's Britain's best-known witch who's based in Cornwall, and she explains why the eclipse is so important to her.
Witches have always lived on the fringes of society. For Cassandra Latham, a Cornish witch, the significance of an eclipse is very different from that of most people.
I'm a village witch in St. Barrion, and it's interesting, in this particular village there has been a long tradition of witchcraft. Even if nowadays you go around and you say, where are you from? Oh, Barrion, yeah, ooh, some queer people out there. I think, yes, I know, I'm one of them. In a sense, the figure of a witch is never totally in the community or never totally outcast. She walks that threshold between the two. It's safe to say that, certainly in Western culture, the sun is perceived as a masculine force and the moon as a female force. So it's very interesting that during the day, when the male force is at its strongest, the female force covers the sun, and it's interesting that cover is an old breeding term. So you get the woman on top, actually. As far as I'm concerned, it's a rare and sacred act. Symbolically, the god and goddess are mating, and as far as I'm concerned, this should not be looked upon. The energies released during the point of the eclipse essentially are going to be very potent. I'm very used to working with these energies, and yeah, there's a light side to things, there's a dark side to things. If you light a candle, it'll cast a shadow. Darkness doesn't mean evil, It just means you're going deeper into something. It will be a time of great power. How that is exhibited is absolutely up to the individual. So I'm intending to work with a local tribe called the Donga tribe, who are very connected with the land. One of the main things that we're hoping to happen is to have the tribal music going at that time, music being such a good unifier, and it will also link in with that primitive response, and hopefully be able to focus it appropriately so that there will be a reconnection with the energies of the land and the energies of the hearts of the people, because that sadly is what has led to a lot of problems on our planet. It's a brilliant opportunity for healing the planet and ourselves.
Well, in just a moment I'm going to be speaking to Claire Prout, who's a modern witch, and Shaman Emrys, who is, as his name suggests, a shaman. But first, let's go over to Pakistan. Now, these are probably the final images of the eclipse that we're going to be able to show you today. The eclipse has reached totality over Pakistan. There you can see the output from Pakistani television. You can see the people who are watching, and there is the eclipse itself. It's quite faint, isn't it, Joe?
It could be that the camera is probably not adjusted properly, because it does look like they're seeing a somewhat the corona image. This is now coming out of totality, so that the moon is now moving across, and they also have the camera in a different orientation, so it's a little bit confusing. But they saw something big in Pakistan.
Okay, I think that's probably going to be about it from Pakistan, don't you? It looks like they're losing that now.
Right.
But it's still fascinating to see, isn't it? And I have a feeling that might well be our last glimpse of
nothing from India?
We are hoping so. We're hoping so, but, you know, we're hoping so. We'll track it and get back to you. So, let's talk to our pagans. Claire is a witch. Emrys is a shaman. Go through it again. What does a shaman do and what does a witch do? Let's clarify this once and for all.
Okay. A shaman deals with the subjective world. Okay, Joe here deals with the objective world. Both are realities. Subjective world, give you an example, love. You can't measure it, you can't put it in a laboratory, you can't weigh it, but you wouldn't deny its reality, would you? Okay?
Sure, okay. And Claire, you're a witch. You're a modern witch. You're not one of those evil witches that we used to read about in fairy tales, I take it.
The media are very happy about using white witches. There's no such thing as a white witch. We're grey. If you deal with the nice fluffy side, you've got to deal with the darker side as well.
But is there actually a darker side there?
Yes, of course there is. There's illness, mental illness, sadness. There is evil out there as well, and that has to be engaged with. We can't just bung it away in a corner. A lot of evil comes from sadness. People who are dispossessed, they need to be brought back into society, and then they generally stop doing what they're doing.
So what is the function of a witch in modern society then?
Well, it's anything from housewarmings, you know, getting rid of all the past occupants' stuff so that you can move in, hand fastings, marrying people, burying people. I've been dealing with the dying for years now, and with the dead. They don't just stop, you know, we deal with the spirit afterlife as well. And that's a very valuable thing to families who are used to just seeing a coffin with what's in there, bricks, books. You know, there's some body in there. We've got to get to grips with that sort of thing as well.
So how important has been the eclipse to you and fellow witches? Are there fellow witches? I mean, how important has the whole event been?
Well, it's literally cosmic. You know, we've got these planets lining up, not just the sun and the moon. It's a time of different gravitational forces. I'd be very interested to see the results of the research that's going on to find out if the gravity is changed. We believe it is. We believe that the Earth sort of changes shape slightly, not in a visible way, but in an emotional way. The Earth is alive.
How can you measure that, though? I mean, Joe will be cynical at this, because if you can't measure it, it's not there, right, Joe?
Well, I suppose that's what a physicist would say. But there is an effect of during an eclipse. There was a great experiment done in 1919 about the effect that gravity affects the bending of light.
Right.
And during the eclipse of 1919, Arthur Eddington took a photograph of the eclipse sun and proved Einstein's theory of relativity for the first time. I mean, it's probably off the center of what you were talking about, but we all have our perspective about these things, and that's something that's deep in the consciousness of astronomers.
Sure. And there needn't be this battle between science and non-science.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, we really can learn from each other.
Different sides of the same coin as far as we're concerned.
Sure.
Emrys, we've had an email from Dr. Guy Oliver, which I think is very interesting about this, because it says, how did it come about that humans moved from those ancient fears of eclipses to our modern ability to predict so accurately the beginnings and progress of an eclipse and observe them in wonder, not in terror? Because we did used to fear
I don't
them,
think
didn't
we have moved from that. Go back to the Mexican eclipse in 92, I think it was, yeah?
91.
91. And there are people there screaming in fear, in a modern society. We haven't moved away from it at all. But fear is a fundamental survival instinct in human beings. It's just taken a little bit too far. It's not kept in check, and that's what's going on here. Science gives us an opportunity to predict, and therefore our universe appears to be controlled. But it's not controlled, and it's things like this that make you realize that it's not controlled. You look at the sun being blocked out, and you realize there's nothing you can do. Nothing.
Do you think that as modern members of society we get in a way some sort of kick out of that, some sort of thrill?
Yeah, absolutely. You feel you're alive that way. That's why people do it.
And yet people fear the end of the world. I mean, you've been dealing with people who actually have been living in fear of the end, haven't you?
But paradoxically, that's also part of feeling alive. You never feel more alive than the moment just before you die. You understand?
Yes.
So if a person is full of fear, they feel life inside them. It's very sad. You don't have to go through life like that. You can go through life laughing and singing and dancing and experience the same thing.
You two weren't obviously in the path of totality because you were here in London. You weren't in the studio when the eclipse actually was at its greatest, 96.6% or whatever. What did you do?
Well, I was out in the park across the road. Mainly I was watching the people, and you pick up their emotions. There was a huge amount of cynicism out there, but they were out there. Oh, we're just out here having a fag break looking at the sun. People were terrifically interested out there. It was fascinating just to hear the sound of people. Oh, it's going a bit dark, it's a bit cold, but I'm not interested in that, They
didn't want to admit it in a sense.
Still far too sophisticated.
Yeah.
But you heard what Lorne Spicer said, that in the city, the financial district, all of the traders, all of the dealers, all of the bankers, they all came out of the offices and looked.
Of course, we're human beings, and human beings love spectacle. In the 60s, we used to call these things happenings, and this one's a free one, the best you're ever going to see.
You are a great proponent of energy and the coursing of energy through the body and so on. Did you have any experience of that when you were outside?
Yeah, I sat out there meditating in the park. I felt a great in-breath of energy as the moon passed over. It was wonderful.
Is this your imagination, or was it actually physically there?
No, I asked a couple of other people around, and they felt the same thing. That was their description, actually.
An in-breath of energy?
An in-breath of energy, that was the exact word.
Joe, did you have an in-breath of energy in Baja?
I guess I would have to say so, but maybe it comes from a slightly different perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all I can say. I mean, the wonderful precision and the phenomenon. And my feeling about this whole thing is that I wish that more people would maybe understand a little more deeply about some of the technical aspects of an eclipse and get something out of that, like the corona and so forth, what it all means and what they're trying to figure out, and deeper into the science. But as you say, we're looking at different points of view of the same phenomenon, and I think they can be complementary.
Do you think modern science has failed us in a sense, Claire, and that it can't answer all the questions?
No, I don't. I'm fascinated in the science of it all, and most pagans, we're not just silly people banging drums up trees. We're very interested in the science of it. It is fascinating. God seems to be a mathematician. It's so precise. However, there is wonder there as well. On one of the NASA sites, they're saying, this horror soon passes. This is NASA talking about horror. It's when the totality occurs, a lot of people are completely freaked out by it.
You were, Joe?
Yes, but I never would describe it as horror, and I'm surprised if you really read that NASA said
I can show you the page from the internet,
Because
so there it is. This is the human side. Let's get away from the maths for a while as well.
Yeah.
But they can be very complementary.
But this remark you made about God being a mathematician is something that fascinates scientists. You know, how he can describe the physical universe with mathematics. It's just still a miracle. No one really
Well, we're coming from opposite viewpoints, but we end up at the same point. I mean, where does matter come from? You were talking earlier about relativity and so on. We end up at the same space, that is, that something comes from nothing. We're just viewing it.
And then goes bang.
Eventually. But you know, the thing that makes me feel that there has to be something more to this than just suns and so on is the extraordinary coincidence of it. The fact that the sun is 400 times bigger than the moon, and yet it is equally 400 times further away. So they are exactly the same size. I mean, how on earth does that happen? In a universe.
Coincidence.
Yeah.
But
it's a wonderful coincidence.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful coincidence that there's this little green planet floating in gazillions of whatever in space. It's beautiful, it's a coincidence, and it's real. We have a response to it.
And Emrys, thank you both very much indeed. Fascinating talking to you. The eclipse is obviously an inspiring spectacle. Now, one of Britain's most famous and loved poets, Roger McGough, has been so inspired indeed that he put pen to paper and came up with this tribute to the eclipse.
Everyday eclipses. The hamburger flipped across the face of the bun. The frisbee winning the race against its own shadow. The cricket ball dropping for 6 in front of the church clock. On a golden plate, a host of communion wafers. The brown contact lens sliding across the blue iris. The palming of small change. Everyday eclipses. Out of the frying pan, the tossed pancake orbits the Chinese lampshade. A water bucket echoing into the well. The lifebelt spinning past the open porthole. The black snookering the cue ball against the green baize. The winning putt on the 18th. The tiddlywink twinking toward the tiddly cup. Everyday eclipses. Neck and neck in the hot air balloon race. Holding up her sign, the lollipop lady blots out the Belisha beacon. The foaming tankard thumped onto the beer mat. The plug into the plug hole. 2 thin slices, first salami, then mortadella. In the fruit bowl, the orange rolls in front of the peach. Every day eclipses another day. Goodbye, ball patch. Hello, Yarmulke. A sombrero tossed into the bullring. Leading the parade, the big bass drum. We hear cymbals, but cannot see them. One eclipse eclipses another eclipse. To the cold white face, the oxygen mask, but too late. One death eclipses another death. The baby's head, the mother's breast. The open O of the mouth, seeking the warm O of the nipple. One birth eclipses another birth. Every day eclipses.
Poet Roger McGough. Now, remember, you're taking part in this programme and we are enjoying very much all your emails and faxes. Are you happy to take some more emails, Joe?
Absolutely.
What do you reckon? OK, we've got one from Martin Bosson. Does the combined gravitational pull of the sun and the moon have any noticeable physical effect on the Earth?
Well, there is a slight variation of the gravitational pull of the sun and the moon when they're aligned on the Earth. And this is manifest by the ebb and flow of the tides. For instance, when the moon is either at new moon and also at full moon, you have a higher tide than when the moon is at first quarter or third quarter, where you have what they call neap tides. So there is that gravitational variation, and certainly the moon has an effect on the tides, a very strong effect on the tides, even stronger than the sun, because it's so much closer. And so the combined effect, as I said, causes this variation.
OK. This one is from Michael Weaver. Egyptians, Greek, Romans, how did they explain the appearance of a solar eclipse?
Well, they didn't quite understand what was going on, and of course, during those times, there was no predictive ability to know when an eclipse was going to take place. And what they came down to was these understanding of myths, we might call it legends, like the dragon was devouring the sun, or the Haitians said that the sun and the moon were making love. In fact, there's a great story that comes out of Africa that it was the sun and the moon were making love, but it was an incestuous love between brother and sister, and therefore you should not watch it. It's taboo. Now, you can translate that into a kind of a built-in safety check. I mean, that there was it was known that it was dangerous to look at the sun. So these myths develop and from these legends and so forth that help to create a kind of story about an eclipse.
Fantastic. Now, look, we've got a couple of emails concerning animals here. There's Michael Whitaker in North Lancashire, which is in the north of England. He says, even as far up north here, the atmosphere turned very cold during the 85% of totality we experienced, and all the birds went quiet. He says the seagulls from the local refuse area all gathered and flew off to roost. As the gloom brightened, I even heard a cock crowing. And then Mr. Philip Taylor from Birmingham says, all the animals in our garden and the birds in the sky seem to be shutting down as the eclipse started. However, the bees still carried on. They didn't seem to notice. Isn't that fascinating?
Right, I've heard some other reports about that as well. And insects would come to life in of course, warm climates because they think that night has arrived.
Amazing, amazing. And the story of the Costa Rican cows, which I always love, they turned round and they walked straight back into the barn.
Into the barn, the day was over, so they thought, a little prematurely. Then they had to come out again.
Amazing. 2 minutes later. Okay. Stay with us. We are going to be going to a break in just a couple of seconds, but there's still plenty more to come, so do join us.
Craftsman has come up with another smart solution that simplifies projects and saves you time. The Craftsman Speedlock Drill and Driver System, exclusively from Sears. This patented Speedlock quick connector is the heart of the system. It fits any drill and works with keyed or keyless chucks. The Speedlock's simple click-in, click-out action makes changing bits so easy you can do it with one hand without re-chucking. With the collar snapped back, the bit is securely locked, and you're ready to drill with any of the 7 hex shank drill bits that are included with the system. The Craftsman Speedlock system also includes this magnetic screw guide. It makes driving screws easier, faster, and safer. And you'll really love the screw guide sleeve. It acts as a stabilizer and guide, so you don't have to use your fingers to hold screws while you drive them, and they go in straight every time. The screw guide comes with 7 different screwdriver bits, so you can work with Phillips, slotted, or square head screws. At just $19.99, the Craftsman Speedlock system is essential for anyone who owns a drill. Choosing the right tool can make any job go more smoothly. And with the Craftsman Speedlock system, drilling and driving is faster, safer, and easier. Whether you're working around the house, remodeling, or building crafts, Speedlock saves time and energy. The exclusive innovative design turns any drill into an efficient tool you can count on for high-quality performance every time. The Craftsman Speedlock system makes work easier, and with its revolutionary quick change design, it's the fast, convenient way to tackle all types of drilling and driving projects. It's just one more example of how Craftsman makes anything possible. And because it's from Sears, your satisfaction is guaranteed or your money back.
Call now to order your 16-piece Speedlock system for only $19.99 plus shipping and handling. You'll receive the quick connector, screw guide, 7 Speedlock drill bits, 7 screwdriver bits, and a convenient storage case. Use your Sears or other credit card and call 1-800-752-3336. That's 1-800-752-3336. Call right now.
Breast cancer is something that's not carried in our family.
It doesn't run in our family?
No, there's no breast cancer in my family.
No one in my family.
No one.
Breast cancer is caused by a gene.
And we don't have it.
Well, I've lived this long without breast cancer. I'm sure my chances of getting it are small.
I feel that my chances are less at my age.
I'm pretty sure my chances of getting it are small.
I've lived this long without breast cancer.
Many women at risk for breast cancer don't know it. But by calling for this free video, you'll learn about a set of questions your doctor has that can actually predict your chances of getting breast cancer.
Why would I want to know if I'm at risk if there's nothing I can do?
Well, if they're at risk when there's nothing you can do about it.
There is something you can do. Today, your doctor has ways that may help reduce your chances of getting breast cancer if you find you're at high risk. So call for this video. It's free and it's priceless. Because high risk or not, every woman owes it to herself to find out. There is something you can do.
Tonight, Hawaii's deepest blue waters. Scientists go where few humans dare to venture. The truth about humans and sharks. Shark Week continues with Sharks of the Deep Blue. Tonight, 9 Eastern and Pacific, only on the Discovery Channel. Shark Week rages on. Discovery News provides an in-depth investigation. From fear to fascination, Controlled Fury, the changing image of sharks, on Discovery News at a special time. Friday at 10 Eastern and Pacific, only on the Discovery Channel.
Welcome back. I'm Mary Nightingale. You're watching Eclipse 99 on the Discovery Channel. In the last 3 hours, we've been watching live the final solar eclipse of the century. We've seen some spectacular images today, and some people have been lucky enough to have seen it for themselves. Our reporter Tim Grundy had one of the best views, so let's go back and join him on Alderney. Tim, what's the latest from you?
Well, I did have one of the best views and we had a fabulous time, but of course also there was a serious side to it. There was a scientific side to it. Alan Pickwick is the chair of the executive committee of the Royal Astronomical Society. There are experiments going on all over, well, is it over the whole of Europe?
Oh, I think over the whole of Europe, yes. Particularly cooperations with teachers and young scientists. Particularly measuring the temperature and the humidity, measuring the radioactive background levels to see whether they fall perhaps slightly during an eclipse, listening to radio stations to see if you can hear them at unexpected times of the day in the medium wave, all sorts of things.
Apart from, you know, making it fun for youngsters to get involved, there is a serious side to this science.
I think there is a serious side in particular because to understand anything that's scientific you have to make some measurements and then you have to go away and check that you understand why that happened. So that's the serious side. The satellites, of course, have made observing the sun much easier. We don't desperately need to go and see an eclipse anymore to take those beautiful pictures that you see, I'm sure you've all seen today.
But you have come to visit another eclipse. Is that because you're still absolutely passionate about them?
That's because being in the totality of an eclipse is everything. Just the experience and of course the community spirit of it, being with all the other like-minded people, is such a great event. And I did see the red ring round the edge of the moon, and I did see a little bit of the corona, so I'm very pleased.
Now, I've missed things because I've heard people talking about what happened here. And is that because it's my first time and you do miss things because you get so excited about it?
Yes, I mean, bear in mind, it is my first time, although I've seen all the videos and all the run-ins and I understand the issues. Yes, it's so exciting that you pay attention to one thing and then don't notice something else.
OK, so very quickly, summing up today, has it been good?
Oh, today's been wonderful because the weather has been terrible to some people, but it's been terribly kind to us, and we've all had a great time.
All right, Alan, thank you very much
Thank
indeed.
you.
Good luck with your tests.
Yes.
And back to the studio, and Mary, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Now, joining me now in the studio is a man who was one of a very privileged few who saw the eclipse 15 minutes before anyone else. Now, Terry Manners was on board Concorde as it chased the shadow of the moon right across the Atlantic. Terry's a distinguished journalist, a former newspaper editor and author of Moonshadow, the story of total eclipse, and he's come straight from Heathrow Airport to tell us all about it. What was it like?
Oh, well, it was amazing. Firstly, it was a historic moment in that it's the first time two Concordes have flown supersonic in formation. And so we left Heathrow, we went out over the Atlantic, and then we turned into the shadow of the moon in formation and came back at twice the speed of sound along the moon's shadow. And we had about 6 minutes of totality, which was fantastic, but the champagne was going and the sandwiches, but it's very difficult to contort yourself with the small Concorde windows to actually see the sun and the moon because it's triple glass and so it's not magnified. The sun and moon look smaller, and so some of the passengers, I think, who were somewhere in their 70s, found it a bit difficult to lay over a seat and look up in their goggles. But apart from that, it was tremendous atmosphere.
We've got some pictures in the studio here, which were taken from Hercules, RAF Hercules, which I think we can show you now.
Okay.
And this actually managed to give us some access to the eclipse while it was still very cloudy. And those were the pictures we saw. I mean, was this similar to what you actually
Yes,
witnessed?
indeed. That is first contact, isn't it? Coming across there to totality. We called a bit of that because we had to hot seat on a plane. If you could imagine that on one side we had a light blue sky and on the other side was dark purple.
Yeah.
And so we had to hot seat and take it in turns to sit in the window seat on the right-hand side. And what we called one at a time was the first contact. And then, because of the angle of the plane, it was very difficult to see anything else until about maybe 3 or 4 minutes later. And then we called the diamond ring effect, which was fantastic to see up close. Remember that, I mean, there was no cloud. We were 55,000 feet up and chasing the shadow towards Land End and across. So it was a great feeling, great buzz. There were gasps of laughter and cheers, and some people were actually doing it as an anniversary flight, or they just retired and they're celebrating their retirement.
Extraordinary, extraordinary. Because when you're that high, can't you actually see the curve of the Earth from Concorde.
Yes, indeed, you can. But then it's obscure because there was a lot of cloud that day. And in fact, in a way, I'm glad there was for us on Concorde, because the first piece of moon shadow we got was black cloud beneath us, and it was stunning. So you had black cloud and a purple background, and you could see the stars twinkling. It was fantastic.
I think we've got some pictures of the passengers on Concorde with the glasses on, because I was going to ask you, I mean, did you had to wear glasses, presumably?
Yes, we had to wear glasses. Obviously, the trouble was that during totality, putting the glasses on, feeling your way around a small window at the aperture and sticking your head there, you can't see anything through these glasses until you catch the sun, and so you're sort of moving your head up and down the window trying to find totality, and some people couldn't do it. Some people were disappointed, but the whole ambience of the trip and the champagne and the excitement was well worth it.
You know, all I can see on board that aircraft is journalists. I recognise half of them.
I was sitting just behind that guy. It's right, it's an ITN guy, wasn't he? As well as Sky, I think, yeah.
They didn't ask you to keep the glasses on
Fantastic.
during totality, did they?
No.
This is it from Concorde. This is it.
This is from Concorde. That's what we saw, yes. I mean, that is about the size we saw it at, in actual fact, through the triple glass windows. But it's fascinating. I mean, all the stewardesses were actually riveted. I mean, one of them, Samantha, she said that she's one of 200 stewardesses that fly Concorde totally, and for months people have been trying to get her shift on that flight. You know, it was so exciting. You know,
you were inspired, weren't you, by the first eclipse you saw, which was in '97? Am I right? Was it Antigua you went to?
No, I didn't. No, that was one of the eclipse chasers that first inspired me to do the book.
Oh yes.
And in the book, what we wanted to do was really to do a pretty book, picture-led, of eclipses all over the world, Antigua, Morocco, Chile and so on. And so with the eclipse chasers and eclipse historians, that's how I put the book together. But it's written very much the story of the sun, moon and the earth from before Christ, right the way through onto Apollo and beyond.
Do you get as inspired by the eclipse as many people seem to do? Does it really kind of take you and capture your imagination?
I think that I think if you're on the ground and the sky is clear, it is the most awesome, chilling spectacle you can ever experience. It makes you feel minuscule, and that is what everybody told me about the eclipse. In Concorde, to see the eclipse, you don't quite get the feeling of you're nothing in the scheme of things. It's just you're watching the sun coming out behind the moon. You're just watching something in the distance is all black, and you've got a few cabin lights on.
You're watching Eclipse 99 on the Discovery Channel. We're bringing you live the last total solar eclipse of the century. Now, viewers in America will be leaving us for a short break now. We will, of course, be back in a few moments, so don't go away for too long. Meanwhile, viewers in Europe can continue talking to you, Terry. I'm incredibly jealous because it is my ambition to go on.
I'm so tired of these blinds and this wallpaper. Oh, but who has time to shop? I wish I could just click my mouse and see what's new. Wow.
You can at AmericanHomeDecorating.com, the American Blind and Wallpaper Factory internet site. See all the latest wallpaper style.
Close's sweepstakes. Tonight's prizes. Close. A personal computer package filled with Shark DVDs and CD-ROMs. Closer. Or look for
Hollywood. And Turner Classic Movies shows over 400 movies a month from the 20s to the 80s. You're sure to find a movie classic. Call us at 1-800-333-DISH and order America's Top 100 CD package today.
If you're looking for a riveting expose of life inside the mob...
Any Sicilian in you?
Not since last night.
Watch The Godfather. But if you're looking to laugh your off...
Say hello to my little friend.
Watch Mafia, starring actors.
He lost a lot of blood, but we found most of it.
Jane Austen's Mafia.
To order, call 1-800-333-DISH.
Now, almost at the end, the eclipse has virtually finished, ending at sunset over the Bay of Bengal. We followed it from England to India. In a moment, we'll look back at some of the most memorable moments from today's eclipse. But let's return in the meantime to our reporter Tim Grundy, who's on Alderney. You've had an extraordinary day, I take it, Tim, have you?
Yes, and I've just worked out what the enormous bang was that we heard just before we actually saw the total eclipse, and that was indeed Concorde. I now realise it couldn't have been anything else, so it was breaking the sound barrier above our tiny little island here in the Channel Islands. I think, looking back over the last couple of days, there's been There's been some notable moments. There's being up here in the freezing cold in the dark last night, nobody about. This is an old Victorian fort which has fallen into disrepair. We were virtually on our own up here. Then this morning there was a rush of scientists quickly coming through the gate of the fort with their rucksacks on and setting up all around here, fighting for the best pitch. 500 of them coming up from all over the country. The only film people up here, there were hundreds of film people up here. There were also 60 or 80 journalists from all over the world. And then after just what seemed a moment, the lights went out and the eclipse was upon us, and there was this massive cheer, everybody applauding, people taking photographs of the dark. I shall remember that forever, because why? Why take a photograph of the dark? But they did. And then the band welcoming the sun as it reappeared in the sky. And anybody in our business, or anybody who's a little bit stroppy, should be forced to go and watch a total eclipse, because it will remind you that you're that big in the world. The sun is almighty. Behave yourself. You're tiny and insignificant. Those are my memories of the total eclipse on Alderney.
All right, Tim, thank you very much indeed for all your hard work. I have to say, there's a little of me that is rather envious, but it was terrific to see you enjoying yourself anyway. So, Terry, thank you very much indeed again. Someone who's experienced it firsthand. Joe and I were in the studio together, but hasn't it been amazing?
Yes, we did have a chance to go outside and saw all the different effects, including the crescents through the leaves of trees all over the ground, right in front of the Parliament building.
Quite so,
super.
quite so. Now, we have been talking to Dr. Joe McAvoy throughout the programme. We were referring to his book, The Eclipse. You can get it on the internet. It's a terrific read, I can guarantee that. Thanks, Joe, for all your time, and thank you for watching. That's all from Eclipse 99 from the Discovery Channel. You've been watching the final solar eclipse of the century. Bye-bye.